Welcome to the Rebuts, where everyday opinions are rebutted, and you, the listener, decide the winner.
What's going on, guys? My name is Christian Thomas Lenzer, and today I'm joined by none other than
Craig Kirchgessner.
And together we are
The Rebuts.
Today we're talking tennis once again, and we're joined by special guest Chris Simon. Chris, you want to say what's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, Chris Simon here, distant cousin of Gilles Simon.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I noticed
proud,
the French
proud to be
accent.
proud to be on this podcast with
Yeah.
you.
I mean, in this panel, we're gonna break down the bracket. We wanted to get a third voice. This Simone character, he knows a bit about tennis, and he's been watching it for longer than most of you listeners have probably been alive.
Yep. Chris, what you were telling me the other day about some success you've had with brackets and whatnot.
Yeah, I believe it was 2014. I had Wimbledon and US Open, 2 consecutive Grand Slams, where I was one pick away of winning a bracket competition that would have flown me to the next year's Grand Slam.
Things you hate to see. That
Had Federer beaten Djokovic in 14 in that 5-setter,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been in Wimbledon in 2015.
Can you stop reminding me of that loss?
Sorry,
Yeah.
it was tragic.
I think it's touchy for both of us, right?
And then had Cilic not been an absolute beast at the U.S. Open in 14, I would have won that one too. Because I actually had Nishikori beating Djokovic in the semifinals in my picks.
Really?
Yeah, but then I had Federer winning the whole thing.
Seems like you're a Fed man. I wonder if that trend's going to continue in this bracket. Hey,
No,
don't spoil it. We're not there yet.
Well,
We're not there.
Speaking of brackets, let's just get on into things. We're talking U.S. men's singles bracket, picks, who we see going far, and yeah.
What we're going to do today, we're going to break down each quarter. We'll just name them by the top seed in that quarter. So we'll start with the Djokovic quarter. You guys see any massive upsets in the first or second round?
You know what? Denis Kudla, second round. I've got him beating Dujan Lajovic.
Is that an upset?
Really?
I mean, if you look at seeding and whatnot,
He's got to get past Tipsarevic first, though.
Yes, but Janko,
spoiler, I do believe that they have split sets.
Oh,
They just started.
yeah. We're recording this at 12:16 on the first day, so me and Craig didn't look at things. Chris was in the right and filled this bracket up.
Obviously not, because I had Raonic going to the quarters, and he withdrew after I filled out my bracket.
Oh yeah, that's unlucky.
That's gonna hurt.
I also have. Let's see.
I don't have this as an upset, but I do think if Query can get to the second round, that is a tough matchup for Joke. He's going to have the hometown crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he's just a big server, 1-2 punch. I think those kind of players always they can eliminate how good Djokovic is because of the firepower. And
They fare well in situations like this.
Yeah, I don't have him beating Djokovic, but I do think that's a fun match to watch.
I think it could go 4 sets or maybe even 5.
Yeah.
Query's playing well. He's taken him that distance before in Grand Slams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in Wimbledon.
Yeah,
that's where he had that big
he
show.
beat him at one point.
Yeah.
What do you guys have in your fourth round? What is the matchup for you guys?
I've got Djokovic and Wawrinka.
Really?
Round of 16.
That's what I have as well.
I have Djokovic, Herkovic, or that Polish guy.
Herkic.
Yeah, that
Okay.
guy. Yeah, I've got him beating Wawrinka, so.
I think that Herkic is going to be tired because he's coming off of playing Winston-Salem, in which he made the finals.
See,
I think Jeremy Chardy is going to actually beat him in the first round.
That's what I have as well.
We'll see.
Wow, it's
I was
we
thinking
look at each other.
I was thinking he's going to ride with that wave, some momentum.
He's tired, man.
Well, hey, we'll find out.
We will see. We will see.
All right, moving on down to the Medvedev quarter. Craig, you got anybody?
Do you call it the Medvedev quarter or the Thomas Berdych quarter? Because I got my boy Berdych just coming out guns a fire, and I got him going all the way to the fourth round, beating Fognini, beating Basil, however you say that guy again.
Basavili.
Yeah, beating that guy. I got my boy Thomas Berdych. I mean, he's got the firepower. A little spoiler alert, since we are recording it now, I do know that he split sets in his first round match.
Yeah.
But
the qualifier.
That's okay. That's okay.
And he's struggling.
He's going to be fine.
And double spoiler, he is now down 2 sets to 1, and at deuce, possibly about to go down a break.
This is hurting my credentials, but that's okay. I got faith in the man.
This is no good.
I do also, if that doesn't happen,
And when you said you had faith in the man, you pointed at Chris Christian. So
Well,
you've got faith in Christian's pick now? You're kind of backing out of
don't
your
worry,
own?
I've got Brooksby, being a proud American here. I've got Brooksby beating Burdich. I do have Fuchsovich. Didn't swear there, I promise.
I have him over Basilashvili as well.
I do as well. I've got him losing to Opelka in the third. But yeah, I heard John McEnroe say today that he thinks Opelka is going to be the first American to win a big a slam. So I don't know about
That's just because Opelka was standing over him at the time and he felt threatened.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen this slam, but I don't know. We'll see.
So what's your round of 16 matchup for that quarter?
Opelka and Medvedev, no doubt. I'm high on Medvedev right now. I think Opelka's going to.
Yeah,
beat
we've
him.
been meaning to talk to you about that. It's
Yeah.
become a problem.
Yeah.
We're going to take you in for treatment.
Yeah.
I have Medvedev and Burdich.
I've got Medvedev and Fognini.
Really?
I think Fognini's a great pick. I think once he
He's been
switched,
playing great this year.
once he switched clothing lines to the Skull, I forgot what that's called,
What
but
you're talking about, yeah.
that is he's been balling out.
He did have that match in Montreal where he won the first against Rafa, but then his foot or whatever was bothering him. Him and Nadal had that great embrace at the net. We'll see.
Actually, the foot and the clothing line switch have a lot to do with each other. So he hurt his foot, and so he decided, this thing's been pesky. I'm going to go all peg leg. So he actually replaced his foot with a peg leg and went with the skull and crossbones. He's going full pirate.
I like it.
He's going full pirate.
It's working for him.
Respectful.
He'll have an easier draw once Burdich loses to a qualifier, but if not, then I see Burdich taking him.
Speaking of Fognini, he has probably the laziest footwork I've seen on tour. He takes 3 steps in between every ball.
Right behind Ivo Karlovic.
Yeah. Well,
He's
like an
Evo
elephant out there. All right, should we move on down to the Fed quarter?
Oh yeah, I love Fed.
Yes.
As all the listeners know.
I mean, we're probably aware of that by now.
I don't know that I've got any upsets.
Yeah.
The one I wanted to pick, I want Cole Schreiber to go far, but I just don't think he can beat Luca Pouille.
The Cole Rider.
I actually have Manarino beating Pouille.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, as you'll find out, my entire draw has a bunch of Frenchmen dominating, but he will lose to Fed. But Manarino's backhand, that thing might as well be a slice every time. It has no topspin on the ball, and I love it for some reason. It's beautiful. I got to watch him front row at Cincinnati last year. The guy, he's got it all. He was playing team. It was an awesome match. It was close. We had a little rain delay, so I got to sneak all the way down to the front.
Nice.
He's got everything that you need to beat someone that's not in the top 4 or 5.
Well, the thing with Pouille is he's one of the most consistent players, being that he'll make it through 2 rounds of a tournament and lose. So I think he's good for 2 rounds.
That's what I've got him. I've got him losing to Federer in the third.
Yeah, same. And then I've got Goffin coming from the bottom of that little quarter.
Yep.
Me too.
Same.
That's a weak area right there.
Yeah. Vasily, he's got the firepower to kind of make some noise, but I don't think he'll get past Cam Norrie, actually. The old Brit. We'll see what he can do. All right. And yeah, I've got Federer Goffin there. You guys probably have the same.
That's what I have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, going into the last, the Nishikori quarter. Let's see. I've got
a busted draw.
Me too.
With
not
with
that.
With
Raonic.
Raonic being out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got Korch sweeping through things. Craig, you have an interesting one.
Oh yeah, I mean,
right?
baby Fed.
Yeah. 72 in the world, mind you.
That's fine. That's fine. People fall back all the time.
So would you call this your mistake?
Nah, I would say this is where you guys at the end of this tournament will say, "Wow, he's back."
Really?
I think this is where the showman puts on a show on the biggest stage.
The brightest lights, right?
Brightest lights, not the biggest stage, but in tennis, I think everyone's going to be looking for him to make it.
Just to be clear, we're talking about Grigor Dimitrov.
That's who we're talking about, baby Fed. And I actually I haven't played Nishikori in the 4th round.
Really?
So
I've got Bradley Clan.
Who won? He just won.
See, riding that. Really?
Yep.
Perfect. Take that, Thiago Monteiro. I've got him beating Nishikori in the 2nd round. Although Nishikori played a set and a half. I saw that. It's updated on our.
I think my biggest surprise for this quarter is I've got wild card Christopher Eubanks going to the 3rd round.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched him play. He played in the Little Rock Open.
Oh yeah, it was good to
Nice.
see him there.
Awesome guy, really nice guy. I was in charge of the ball kids there, and I had a guy come up to me and he said, "I don't mean to bother you, but would you go ask that man what his name is?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, you don't mean to bother me, but you could easily bother the man that you're trying to get information from." But I asked him and relayed, and I said, "Hey, I don't mean to bother you, but this guy didn't mean to bother me, and he's over there and he wants to know your name."
Uh-huh.
And then so we played a little game of telephone in which I relayed messages, but he was really a nice, down-to-earth guy and a solid tennis player.
Nice. Well, I've got George versus Demonauer coming through in the matchup in the 4th round.
Wow.
Demonauer with old Rusty Hewitt in his corner, I think still. He had a good showing last year, didn't he? He had an epic match. I forgot who it was against.
Billie Jean King, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was amazingly Billie Jean King.
I could see
Didn't
that.
get as much coverage as you would have
Yeah.
thought.
Well, I think he's going to make it through against George.
How far you guys have Jack Sock going?
Losing?
I've got him beating Pablo Cuevas, and then I had him losing to Raonic. Honestly, with Raonic being out, I would put him going to the 3rd round and losing to Chorich.
Really?
Or losing to Dimitrov, is that what you're saying?
No, to Chorich.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And I'm not saying that Chorich is going to beat Dimitrov. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that
Fair.
because Dimitrov's not going to make it to the
Yeah.
2nd round.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I do think that Sock is also one of those American showmen, just like Dimitrov. I know Dimitrov's not American, but like one of those guys that the lights get a little brighter. I feel like his game elevates instead of
Diminishes?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
some people see the bright lights and they want to go back to the shade. He says, "Let me have it."
You've been a big
Diminished.
fan of Jack Sock lately. I noticed you've been starting to wear socks over your hands, not just your feet.
That's
It's a really interesting way to show your
Show your
support for
support.
somebody.
I like the man. I like him.
I don't think he's going to do anything. All right.
I thought you said you were an American homer right here.
I've got a few
I
other
like
guys.
Americans unless your name's Jack.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, let's go top of the next page with Sissipas. This
All right,
quarter.
starting the bottom half. Huh?
Speaking of Americans making a good show, I've got Bjorn Frangel. Beating Gail Simone. Your long lost relative.
my long lost cousin is
Yeah.
going to beat him, but
Really?
he's not going to beat Andrei Rublev, who I think is going to upset.
Yeah,
Tsitsipas.
I think that's probably one of the best first round matches that we'll see.
Yeah, I have Rublev winning that as well.
Yeah,
He's
I love
been playing well.
I love Stefanos Tsitsipas' vlogs. Really put a smile on my face, so I have confidence that he's going to be able to come through.
How far does everyone have Kyrgios going?
We'll get there.
Of course.
I have Simone getting to the 3rd round.
Really?
Yeah, I think he A's from France, and as you'll see, my bracket is full of them. But B, I think that he has that all-around game like a Manarino, that unless he gets up to someone with a bunch of firepower like Kyrgios in the 3rd round, I think he can withstand it, and his consistency and just all-around game is going to get him to the 3rd round.
So who do we have in the 4th? What's that matchup?
I've got Rublev and Batista Agut.
Really?
Yeah.
I have Batista Agut and Nicholas Kyrgios.
I have Kyrgios and Gasquet.
Ooh, the gasket.
Ooh.
Yeah, I
With
think
that
he's
one-
going
I've
to...
got Gasquet going to the 3rd round, but
Man.
Batista Agut has been really solid
He
this year,
has.
and he has not lost matches that he should win.
Gasquet, big Coke guy. All right, let's go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got.
That's right. He got suspended
years
years
back.
ago.
Yeah.
I remember that
Claimed
now.
he made out with a girl at the club who'd done it.
And started drinking Pepsi immediately after. Thank
All
goodness.
right, let's go to the team quarter. I've got my Austrian boy Dominique rolling all the way through.
That's a mistake.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah. I think that team on hard court in a Grand Slam, he can't win more than 3 straight
You
matches.
see, I would kind of agree with that, but last night I was watching the Team Nadal match from last year, and I just thought, this guy, he's going to make another run. And he hasn't been wearing himself out, hasn't been playing nearly as much, so he's going to be fresh. And I believe in that. I believe in that one-hander of his.
I do think one thing that team does struggle on the hard court is because of how far back he stands.
Yeah.
I think he's not Rafa. They're not the same player, so when Rafa does it, it's still a little bit different. I don't see him being able to succeed. I say that with an asterisk by it because I do have him getting to the quarters, but I don't think that he could take it home because of his inability to typically step inside the court as often as I think you need to on hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Kyle Edmund with his forehand
Really?
and team's positioning, I think Kyle Edmund's got the advantage in that.
He's
I've got
kind
him
of,
beating.
I know he's the
third round.
30th seed, but he's kind of dropped off the past little while. What do you guys think of that Azure Aliazim?
Oh, I've got him winning that round of
Shafstick
16.
one?
Yeah,
Oh, going through all the way through.
I've got him going to the quarters.
I've got Ugo Humbert, the Polish Frenchman. Seems.
I have my Frenchman.
Oh wait, he is French. Excuse me. I get him and the other French Polish Humbert guy mixed up.
My Frenchman getting to the fourth round is Monfils.
Really?
Yeah, I don't love the pick. Like, I think he's capable of losing first round,
Okay.
but I didn't see, like, I don't know. There's nothing there that says he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a fan, and I think that Team and Monfils, that'd be a fun one to watch. They'll both be creative and
Flash some firepower.
yeah, that would be a fun match to watch.
That'd be a fun night match, I think. Under the lights.
Oh, I'd like to watch that.
Ash. Yeah.
So,
I've got that's going to be an interesting one. Ciccinato versus Azure Aliazim, but I've got Humbert ultimately beating him in the third and losing the team in the fourth. All right, the Zverev quarterfinal. You're pretty high on this guy, aren't you?
Well, here's the deal.
Okay.
This tournament, I think more than anybody, forget about the Grand Slam race. I think the person it needs to mean the most to is
Dimitrov.
Alexander Zverev.
And Dimitrov is a close second, no doubt. Yeah.
Because Zverev, going into the start of this year, was the person that people thought was going to be that first one to really break through.
Yeah.
And he had such a great year last year and even the year before. And this year he has, I mean, I don't want to say he's been disappointing. He's obviously sixth in the world. That's a fantastic achievement.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for the standards he had for himself, he's really kind of let down. And I think that he needs to realize he doesn't want to be that next young kid that almost made it and then disappeared.
Yeah.
Heon Chong, Denis Shapovalov,
Yeah.
any of those kiddos that seemed to be on the cusp of something great and then kind of went away. You know, kind of like your boy Dimitrov for
Yeah.
a while there.
he's coming back.
Okay.
Isn't he like 39 now?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fed. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fed.
Oftentimes get confused.
Sorry,
Baby fed
they're
is
so
not quite
similar.
that at all.
Uh-huh.
But I think that Zverev, this will mean so much to him because he's got something to prove. I think that if he does not at least get to the semis of this tournament, that you could see him start to unravel a bit more.
Really taper off.
Really taper off.
Yeah.
And
I think
no spoilers, but I have him going a decent amount.
Mm-hmm. I've got a phone call. Sorry, I had to take that. It's fine.
I think on that note though of Zverev going really far, I think his matchups are very difficult. I have Tiafoe actually beating him,
Really?
but let's just assume Tiafoe doesn't get there, then he's got Karlovic. That's a hard match regardless.
Yeah.
So either way, his second round matchup's tough. I also have Paire beating Tiafoe, which means my Frenchman's gonna. I mean, he's gonna have to play Paire. That's also a tough match. I don't see him getting to the fourth round, and if he does, then he runs into Khachanov. I don't see him getting to the quarters.
See, the thing is, Paire kind of reminds me of Puy, and he's one of the most consistent players, and he's able to retain his ranking because he's good for 2 rounds of a Grand Slam.
And a beard.
Yeah, and dyeing their hair and stuff. I love it. I love those French guys. They're all like the same age, and they'll get along really well. Yeah, I've got Paire going through, but losing to that boy Francis Tiafoe. I think Tiafoe, he's about to show the world what he's made of.
Oof.
You know. Unfortunately, I've got that Tiafoe Khachanov round, round 4, fourth round. Well, that was the worst way of saying that. And Schwartzman gonna lose to Khachanov, and Tennis Sandgren beating Joe Willie Tsonga. You know, fun fact: I saw Tsonga play Murray at the Vienna Open, lost, but fun to see him nonetheless. The tight end, he can really.
Tsonga's got the tools. I understand he is getting older, and we haven't seen him
And he has a kid now.
do much, but
Yeah.
that Tsonga Khachanov match could be a fun one.
Yeah, I think it'll be good to watch.
Just firepower on firepower.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But I think that that section of the bracket, you got to go Zverev and Khachanov in round of 16.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out real quick, in a couple days. All right. Last but not least, the Rafael Nadal quarter. Who we got, boys?
Oh, Rafa.
Chung beating Verdasco. That's one of my big upsets.
What? I hope not, because Verdasco Rafa is entertainment.
Yeah,
at its
I
finest.
actually have Verdasco over Rafa.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Verdasco's record against Rafa is not quite as good as his record against Djokovic. Do you know he's 5-6 against Djok?
I believe it.
He comes to play against the big guys.
He was a top 10 player.
He gives the big players a lot of trouble.
He's one of those guys that age doesn't really seem to be that big of an issue. I know he's dropped off a little bit. He's not what he was. But...
Nadal had one tune-up tournament, and let's face it, no one else showed up to play him.
Yeah.
Like, literally, they weren't there. Federer, Djokovic, they all
yeah.
backed out of that tournament.
Yeah.
He had an easy cakewalk.
He wrecked Medvedev in the final there. Like, that was not a very good showing for my boy. He got there. He was in the final.
I think that I don't see Nadal going too far. I actually think that the Kokkinakis-Nadal possible second-round matchup
really
could be fun to watch.
Okay. I see.
Speaking of young people who showed promise and then kind of disappeared.
And have bad attitudes that are from Australia.
Yeah. And who may or may not have been sleeping with Stan Wawrinka's girlfriend at that famous moment when Kyrgios
called him out on it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that was brutal. I think that is an actually really really interesting second round for Rafa.
What about Cilic? Cilic, former U.S. Open winner.
I've got him losing to Martin Klizan.
Wow, I haven't beaten Isner.
That's.
I have him losing to Isner.
He's tapered off so much this year, and I don't see that. I don't see him showing up like Dimitrov or Jack Sock, flashing in the lights. I think he's going to fall.
Just get down to the bottom of this. It's because he's not American. I see
that is pretty much true. But also, I think we're looking past a really big matchup. John Millman versus Rafael Nadal in the first round. That's going to be quite the interesting one. Johan Leonard Struff beating old Isner in the second round. I've got that too. Ultimately, the fourth round is going to come down to Krajinovic and Rafael Nadal.
I got Isner and Cilic and Verdasco and Rafa in my third round, and I think Cilic, I just like his game more. I understand his serve's not as good as Isner's, but I like every other part of his game more, so I got him taking him down. I do still, it's hard to vote against Rafa or pick against Rafa because it's Rafa. You guys make good points on why he shouldn't go that deep, but I do have him going to the quarters.
Yeah, and it is, on the other side of our argument, it is he's won this before. This is like his major, like his baby. So ultimately, Cilic could make some noise. But all right, now that we've covered all those, what do you say we break down the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the final?
Who's your biggest surprise in the quarterfinals?
That who made it there?
Yeah,
I'd have to say Opelka.
I have Kyrgios.
Is that a surprise?
Yeah, because he might break 4 rackets and not having to play with in round 1. So
yeah. Well, that is that is very true. I've got Opelka making a run.
Oh, I guess Dimitrov would be my big
one.
one.
That's a big surprise.
That is quite a surprise.
That's a big mistake.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I have old and young in. No, Kyrgios and Team are kind of young, so it's one of the big 3 and one of the young guns in every of my.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I've got Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer, of course. In Kyrgios' team, Khachanov, Opelka, and George. I think my boy Borna George, he's got a very interesting draw down there. Nishikori hasn't really been the Nishikori that we know. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and wrap things up here. Semifinals, who we got? Who are your 4? Craig?
I got Djok over Medvedev.
Uh-huh.
I got Fed over Baby Fed.
Okay.
I got Kyrgios over Team.
Yep.
I got Khachanov over Rafa.
Boo!
Wow.
As a Nadal fan, that hurts to hear. Chris, who you got?
I'm going to go in reverse order.
Okay.
I got Zverev over Fernando Verdasco.
Hey, all right, okay.
And then I've got Roberto Batista Agut over Auger Aliassime.
Okay.
Batista Agut, honestly, I almost thought about picking him to make the finals.
No way.
Playing great.
Yeah.
And then I've got Federer over. I had Federer over Raonic. Now I'm going to say Federer over Nishikori.
Dimitrov?
No.
You thought.
And then I've got Djokovic in 4 sets over Fognini.
Fognini, Fabio. All right. I've got Djokovic over Opelka, Federer over Coric, Thiem over Kyrgios, and Nadal over Khachanov. So we've all got pretty interesting picks there. You know, we're pretty well rounded with our group. And then of course we got the semifinals. Right?
I think this is Khachanov's year to get to the final.
Really?
Yeah, I got Khachanov beating Kyrgios. I mean, I think it's a stretch to say Kyrgios can keep his head for 5 matches. So
Yeah.
I don't see that happening for 6. So yeah, I'm gonna put Khachanov over Kyrgios, and then we're gonna have another epic battle between Fed and Joke. I just hope when Fed gets up 40-15, he just says, "Let me hit 4 first serves and hope I make one," instead of try to be fancy and win a ground stroke. I don't know. Those two were just stuck in my head. Hopefully he just balls out in that 40-15 point and goes for it. So I got Fed playing Khachanov in the final.
All right.
Wow.
Chris?
I've got Djokovic beating Federer. I think that
The GOAT.
unfortunately, as much as I would love to see Federer win that match,
Uh-huh.
I think that at the US Open, Djokovic will beat him. I think it's going to be a night match. I think the court's going to be slower. I think that the last maybe 5 times they've played here, Djokovic has won. I don't think Federer's won since the 2009 semis.
Okay.
Which was an amazing match, and he blew Djokovic off the court. But then he had 2 years in a row where Federer was up 40-15 in the 5th set, had 2 match points, and lost him. So this Wimbledon was actually the 3rd time that he's managed to really crumple against Djokovic. And
Stop it.
I don't think he even gets that close. And I hate to say that because Federer's my favorite player
I know
ever.
you're a Fed fan.
So I've got Djokovic over Federer, and then I have Alexander Zverev getting to the finals.
You guys are you're talking all this high and mighty on Medvedev for me, and Chris is over here with Zverev. Okay.
I think that Zverev has to show up at this tournament, or he will slowly fade
it's
away.
the end of his kind of run.
I think that he knows that.
Yeah.
I think Khachanov will be there next year if he doesn't do anything amazing.
Mhm.
I think that these guys need to get far in slams. They are pulling out Masters 1000s every now and then, but they're not showing up. I don't know that Zverev has even made a semis of a slam.
He hasn't.
Has he not?
I don't think he has.
I don't think he has. I mean, they've got to show up in slams because, let's face it, that's what's televised on something other than Tennis Channel, and that's what people care about.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. When you talk about the greatest of all time, the first thing people talk about is, well, how many Grand Slams have they won?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't talk about Masters 1000s.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that he realizes if he wants to really make a name for himself as somebody who's going to replace the big 3, it's got to be now.
It is interesting that we're all high on Medvedev, but does anyone have Medvedev beating Joke, even though he just did it?
No. I've got Opelka beating Medvedev, actually.
So
I've got Fognini beating him.
So nobody even got him there except for myself.
He doesn't have the physicality to make a big
I don't
run.
think he's got the consistency.
Yeah.
I think he can play lights out, but I just don't know that he
I don't
He
think
can go
do
2
it.
weeks,
I
a
don't
fortnight.
think
best
his-
of 5.
his draw's not that hard though.
Yeah, well, Fritz could be all that Fritz match in the round of 3 could be an interesting one. I don't see the first round or the second round really being an issue, but yeah, I mean we'll see. We'll let things play out. I've got Djokovic over Fed in my first semifinal because the GOAT battle continues. The
Ugh.
real GOAT will emerge.
Yeah, at 5 years, that's 38. This
Yeah.
shouldn't even count against him.
Yeah, well, it does. It's going to in the grand scheme.
You're right.
And I've got Nadal over Thiem, a little rematch from last year's epic 5-setter under the lights. Finished at 2 something in the morning. And then ultimately, the ultimate champion I have emerging between Djokovic or Nadal, Novak Djokovic. He's going to add one more notch to his belt.
17.
And
17.
yeah, he's slowly gaining on the other two.
That would
And-
really help his overall record against him too. Obviously, he already has the best against both, but that would just keep adding to one of the reasons to name him the great. The greatest if that happens.
Yeah.
hopefully my bracket's correct because I have Fed beating Medvedev in 4 sets. I mean, not Medvedev, sorry. Khachanov. Sorry. But if Fed can do this again, that would also mean that Fed beat Joke.
Yeah.
He might have to. I understand. I have Khachanov, not Rafa. But if Rafa got there and he had to beat them both, oof.
All right, so let's do this before we finish.
Yeah.
Because I just thought of a great idea.
Who do you have first?
Oh, I've got Zverev
Okay.
winning.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we all have somebody else. Somebody,
I do.
Somebody different.
All right, so I want to throw you
Okay.
your wild curveball.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you 2 different curveballs. I want you to tell me how it would change anything, if anything. Because these were some picks that I wanted to make, but I just couldn't do it. Querrey beats Djokovic in the second round. What does that change? Obviously, Christian, it changes your winner,
my
but
entire bracket.
does that give a chance for somebody else
I
to
think-
win other than Nadal?
Yeah, Wawrinka could get.
I think he's done.
You think Wawrinka's done?
Yeah.
I think if Querrey wins, I think Medvedev is the odds-on favorite to get out of that.
I'd put Querrey in the 4th round, and he'd lose that to.
I think he could beat either Anderson or Wawrinka.
Anderson's no longer in it.
What?
Yeah, sorry, Chris.
No,
Yeah.
no.
He pulled out as well.
I'm glad I had Wawrinka beating him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if Querrey won that Herkovacs or whatever the heck his name is, I'd see him getting to the quarters.
I'm pretty sure there's actually an unwritten rule that if you can't pronounce the name, you can't pick them to win a match.
Dude, that's just like somebody slapped the keyboard and that's the name that popped out. Like, I don't know how to say it. Then I'll go with Kekmanovic. Going and trying to act. Yeah, I don't know.
That's where you're going to see your surprise. Is that little section of the Anderson's little section.
Anderson's no longer. Yeah.
I know, but his where he's been replaced. You've got a lot of unseeded players that if somebody's wanting to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, Wawrinka's kind of on the way out, and that'd be a really interesting draw, or a really interesting quarter.
We say interesting, but none of us would watch it.
No,
None of us.
no.
The normal public wouldn't watch it as finding it to be captivating or interesting.
There's 5 Serbians in that draw, or in that part of the draw. What the heck? That's crazy.
All right, give us curveball number 2.
So curveball number 2, because I had to mess with Christian's draw. Let's say that
Dimitrov gets beat early.
Federer loses to Dimitrov.
I would quit tennis.
in the quarters? Well, that means.
And let me just
Joke
stress, that's not the one I thought about. That's not a pick I thought about making. I realized that would be fun to throw out there. Dimitrov beats Fed and hasn't dropped a set up to that point and looks fresh.
Hey,
Djokovic still beats him.
I would agree for sure.
I think Djokovic has all the rent space in his head.
I do think it's interesting that the only 4th round match that we all have the same, I think, was Fed Goffin.
Gopher.
Yeah.
That's interesting that we're all high on Goffin.
Well, he had a pretty interesting run. What tournament was that?
He
played in Medvedev in
Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincy. So I think he didn't play in Winston-Salem.
He looked good except Medvedev. The score was relatively close, but I watched that match. That was a beatdown.
Yeah, but I mean, he's always he's one of those players that's consistently decent in Grand Slams. I mean, he's gonna make the 3rd or 4th round like he does every other time. So, and it's Fed.
Yeah,
we haven't seen Fed shy away from the tournament or like go out early, like ever almost. You know, like can we think of a time when Fed lost before the 3rd round?
Yeah.
Sure. Wimbledon 2011.
8 years ago. It doesn't happen, you know? Like it's not like Nadal.
His level of consistency is very high. Nadal is the
3rd round Australian Seppi. What was that? 2015?
Yeah, I don't know.
2016?
But I don't know.
It's rare. It's
Yeah,
rare. That's one. I just thought that was an interesting because out of all of our fourth rounders, that's the only one we all agreed on.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we'll keep you guys posted on our social media about our results and who's. I'm going to keep track of these.
I want Craig to win.
You do.
Oh,
with
me
that
too.
Dimitrov.
Me
That
too.
Dimitrov.
No, I want Federer to win.
Oh,
and
okay.
he's the only one that picked him.
Djokovic is going to win. I think we all know that's going to be the reality. I know we've made some bold picks, Chris.
If you
Craig.
guys have picks out there that you guys think that A, we messed up completely, like my Dimitrov pick, or
Roundish
B,
making a run.
Yeah, come re-entering the
Yeah.
tournament.
or if you guys have an upset in mind that we didn't cover that you think's going to happen, let us know, and we'd love to hear from you guys. We'll keep track of who has the best bracket, and yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Yeah. I've got nothing else to say, Chris. Anything? Any closing remarks?
Nothing. Thank you guys for having me on. It's
Of course.
been
It's
a lot
always
of
a
fun.
pleasure. All right. Well, we'll see Chris again sometime soon.
Mr. Simone.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.